viewers, and welcome to an episode of Jrod News. And as you may have heard, we have some news out of StoneWars.Denmark, and this pertains to the upcoming 2020 LEGO Star Wars sets. And there are a lot of people not very happy with this, so I would just like to go ahead and discuss what we can expect to see in 2021 and why this is going the way that it is. So if you are like most LEGO Star Wars fans within the last couple of years, you've been really wanting to see more Clone Wars sets on shelves. Not only has the sequel trilogy been a flop to many of the fans that are older, but the Clone Wars has made a very strong comeback, and a lot of sets have been very popular that just got released in 2021, in 2020, including the 501st Battle Pack, the coveted set, and a lot of people are really hoping to see more Clone Wars sets come out in the future. But will that be a reality? Will the LEGO Group actually adhere to what the fans want? Well, according to news sources in the Stone Wars and the Instagram department, the answers are no. We won't be receiving new LEGO Star Wars 2021 Clone Wars sets, maybe even at all, at least in the winter and the early spring wave. Don't expect to see anything. Let me briefly cover what sets we have in the list. So first of all, our set list includes the Millennium Falcon, which is a microfighter for $10. This coming out in February. The Mandalorian set, it's unspecified which one. An X-Wing, this is going to be the Red 5 version, so the Episode 4 version. The TIE Fighter, this is presumably a Mandalorian TIE Fighter, is what people are saying, or like the Moff Gideon TIE Fighter, whatever. And then that is all for the winter 2021 wave, which is rather interesting that there's so few sets. But in March, we get more, which is a Resistance X-Wing, a 4+ set, a Tauntaun and an AT-AT, which is a microfighter dual pack, and then an Imperial Shuttle, rumored to be $80, which is an interesting choice as well. Those are all coming out in March. And then in May, we're going to receive a UCS set, unspecified price, unspecified set number. And then the Darth Vader helmet is said to come out in May as $70. And then the Scout Trooper helmet is said to come in at $50. And an Imperial Probe Droid for $70. Those are all in May. So if you're like me, you might look at this set wave list and be a little bit skeptical. It seems rather unlikely that LEGO would be releasing 4 different sets 3 different times within a 4-month span. You would think that they would make one continuity of a set release throughout the year, normally only a couple times, but to release sets different months, back-to-back months at that, February and then March, it just doesn't seem very likely. And on top of that, the set list seems rather unbelievable, but we're going to discuss why it might actually be legitimate that LEGO is not making any Clone Wars sets, which might be disappointing to a lot of you. And first of all, it's worth mentioning that there's no guarantee that these sets will be the ones that release. These are just the ones that are rumored, and these obviously are set to change. They aren't going to be exactly what they're coming out as, but that's the rumor as of now, as what you're seeing here on this list that I will link below. And a couple of sets sound interesting. The X-Wing, the Red 5 X-Wing, and especially that Imperial Shuttle for $80 and $50 respectively sounds like a set that I'd be interested in, but it's just not hitting the mark on what fans want. And that is that, namely, fans have been dying for Clone Wars sets the last several years, and it just doesn't seem to make much sense that LEGO won't release those. And on top of that, they're only going for a limited number of sets that they're going to release in the time slot. And that raises a few questions, and a lot of people would assume that this might be because of the coronavirus and that the production line has been slowed. But if that's the case, it wouldn't matter what sets are going to be released, because it's likely that LEGO had these sets already planned out in 2020 before the virus even happened. Of course, it's subject to a little bit of change over that time period, but in a general sense, LEGO plans a year or two ahead. So this set list is one that we've probably had for quite a while, and it might seem a little disappointing to people, but that is just what LEGO has planned. And it could also be a very real possibility that LEGO just didn't anticipate the new Clone Wars sets to sell extremely well, and because they might be changing their plans for the upcoming years, but this had been kind of set in stone for the last, couple years that they've been planning. But you would have expected LEGO to just plan better. With the upcoming, Clone Wars series they knew was coming, and they had to understand there wasn't going to be any movies released in the next couple of years. You would have think they would have at least considered making new sets. And it really goes to show the issue of the LEGO Group as a whole, and it's been very disappointing to try to work with them as fans, because not only do you get criticized for getting the most basic set made, not only are the fandom criticizing you for buying these as many as you want, the fandom also expects to get away with whatever they want as well. The same LEGO company who took down an Osprey Lego set because there was 20 people out protesting it and didn't want it to happen because it was military related, are the same people in the same Lego group that won't give you this set that we protested 2 years for. There's a lack of continuity and there's a lack of understanding to the fandom. That's what makes Lego sets just at an all-time low, in my personal opinion. And if you look at the stock reports for the Lego company, there was a big scare in around 2018 because their sets just were not performing as well. This might have even been 2017. Their line was just at an all-time low, and they were losing money for the first time in 20 years. You've got to wonder, how are they surprised? They don't release sets that fans have been asking for years. They go around and do the exact opposite, and then they just bend to the will of whoever thinks they can protest the slightest issue in terms of a slight movement away from Lego policy or orthodoxy, and they try to replace that with just simply adhering to whoever criticizes them. But when it comes to us, the fans, they could care less. They're not in it to please the fans. They're in it to make money. And you have to understand that Lego is a company and they want to make money. But at the end of the day, how are you going to make money when you can't even please your fans who are spending the money? And it's for that reason that I suspect that if the Lego company continues to make decisions like this, I'm not going to be surprised if there are going to be multiple years where they're going to continue to lose money, because you cannot listen to the critics who don't care about the sets that you're releasing and don't care to buy them, and instead just not listen to the people who've been asking for these sets for the past couple years. Now, I get that there are some exciting sets coming out here. You know, there are a lot of sets that people will very much enjoy, but you're missing an entire group of the fandom. You're missing an entire group of buyers that have shown full force out and buying this thing out all around the world. You can't argue with the numbers. This is, as M&R Productions has said, the most popular set of all time. I don't really see why Lego won't reevaluate their production line and their setup, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, it's also worth mentioning that the decision of what sets Lego is going to make isn't only the sole issue here. It's the quantity and the quality of the sets they're making. First of all, they're trying to limit the number of sets they produce, and from a business standpoint, that's a good idea because they're trying to consolidate their purchases. But if you're going to do that, you have to make the quality that people would expect. People aren't going to show out in large groups to line up and buy the Millennium Falcon microfighter. The same way people aren't going to show up to buy Resistance X-Wing, which is a 4+ set. If you're going to consolidate the amounts of sets that you sell, you're going to have to make them a more desirable set, such as a 501st set. So from that standpoint, it doesn't make much sense from Lego's part. We're not getting a $15 battle pack, and at that, it doesn't even look like we're getting a $30 battle pack. They're just skimming out on the minifigure play sets entirely, which not only secludes the fans who want Clone Wars sets, but secludes the kids and the other people who just want play sets altogether. And to me, it almost seems like this reflects the sentiment at LEGO, where they are trying to shift the momentum to the older population of fans. As you can see, we have several different helmets, and we have just more collectible sets that kids wouldn't necessarily be interested in. But what's happening here is you have a great divide. You have these 4+ and these microfighter sets geared toward children, and then you have sets that aren't even play sets, and you have, UCS sets here, and that's a given. But where's the in-between? Where's the middle? That's what I'm getting at here. And the middle comes in the form of a Clone Wars set. The middle ground where you have the adult fandom and the children meet is with the Clone Wars. That's kind of a middle ground that everyone has been asking for, that LEGO has skimped out entirely on. And for this reason, the sets that they're making aren't necessarily bad, but they're just missing out on other opportunities. They're re-releasing sets that we've already had, and they refuse to make stuff off of new content. And as for this reason, I probably won't be buying any of the 2021 sets unless something really wows me. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that, and I'm just rather disappointed in their decisions, and from a marketing standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense. So go ahead and let me know what sets on this list. Go ahead and take a look. What would you consider buying, and what would you rather have them make? I'm curious to hear from you because you all are fans too, and you all have a voice as well. And I encourage you all to just speak up against this. Don't just sit there and let LEGO ruin their own company because they want to adhere to the fans. Start a movement. Start a #MakeLEGO Great Again movement. I will make that happen. I will be the one to step out and say, we are going to make Lego great again. And I don't really care how that comes across because it has just been at an all-time low for years. And it's about time we get back to the glory days we had in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I'm just sick of them skimping out on everything. So if you agree with me, go ahead and give me a hashtag make Lego great again in the comments section. So thank you all for viewing, and go ahead and just let me know what you think of this, what you think of my opinion, because I know it seems rather aggressive here, but I'm just rather fed up. So thank you all for viewing. Stay tuned for more news like this. And as always, guys, have a great day.